Right, okay, so let's do one more sketch question. I'm going to show you how to sketch this in a slightly different way than I've done before. I'm going to show you how you can both factorize and complete the square for a quadratic equation like this and how that might be useful. So just remember, when we're sketching, what we want to know are a couple of things. We need to know the shape of the graph. Okay, so whether it's a U-shaped or an N-shaped. We need to know the y-intercept. Okay, we need to know the y-intercept. We need to know the roots. Okay, assuming that there are roots in this case. And we also need to know the turning point. Now, some of these things are really easy to see when the graph is in this form. So when it's in the form y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so that, we might think of that as one of the more natural ways to think of an equation, a quadratic equation. It's bx plus c. Okay, so I'm hoping you get used to this now. It's the coefficient of x squared that tells us what shape it is. So because a in our example is positive, it's +1, it's positive x squared. I know I'm going to be drawing a U shape. And again, the y-intercept is really easy to spot. It's c. The y-intercept is c. So in this case, the y-intercept is -24. So what's happened now is I've got two really useful bits of information for drawing my graph. I know it's going to be a U shape, and I know it's going to go through that y-axis at the point -24. Okay, at this point, you might be able to see that we're going to have two real and distinct roots. Okay, because if we're crossing the y-intercept below 0 and we're a U shape, that suggests that we must have come down through the x-axis and then gone back up through the x-axis. So we've crossed it twice. Now, the easiest way to find the roots would be to factorize. So let's factorize this equation. Okay. So again, recall that I'm putting this into double brackets. I'm asking what multiplies to make 24 and adds to make -2. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is write x into both brackets because that's x squared. I know I'm definitely going to need to have x. And because it's a negative here, I know I'm going to have to use a positive and a negative to get there. So now it's just thinking about the different ways to make 24. So there are quite a few ways to make 24. So let's just list a couple of them out. We could do 1 and 24. Is that going to end up making 2? No. We've got 2 and 12. I don't really see a way of making 2 out of that. We've got 3 and 8. And again, I'm just looking at the difference between these two and seeing that that's not 2. So that's no use. I've got 6 and 4. And at that point, I'm thinking, okay, this is useful now. Because let me think. Why don't we do +4 take away 6? Right, let's just check that. Is 4 times -6 -24? Yes, it is. Is +4 take away 6 -2? Yes, it is. And notice how, my method is just to list the factors of 24 out and just look. I couldn't get a difference of 2. I couldn't get a difference of 2. And I just kept on going until I found it. Okay, so we're happy. We know how to find the roots. What we do is for the roots, we set this equal to 0. And then we see what x needs to be. So either x is -4 or x is 6. Now, I did a few videos on this last week. So if you're missing out on that step there, just revisit last week's, okay? Because what we need is x. We need this bracket to equal 0, and this bracket only equals 0 if it's -4 plus 4, or this bracket to be 0, which it would be if x is 6. Okay, so that's a quick recap there. These are the roots. Okay, so this means that my parabola crosses the x-axis at the point -4, 0 and at the point 6, 0. Okay, now none of this should really be new because we've kind of seen all these different elements before. I want to show you the turning point, and there's a couple of ways to find the turning point, but the one I want to show you today is how we can use completing the square. So if we complete the square, um, for this equation, y equals x squared minus 2x take 24. What we do is we put x minus 1 squared in a bracket. So what we do is we take the coefficient of x and half it, and then we take that away. We take whatever we put in this bracket, we take that squared away from the bracket, and then we've still got that minus 24. Okay, so again, revisit completing the square if I've lost you there. Okay, but just remember this is how we complete the square. We take the coefficient of x, we half it and put it in the bracket, but then we need to take away whatever goes in this bracket here, we take away that squared. Now in this case, 1 squared is just 1. And what we end up with is x minus 1 squared minus, well, this would be minus 25 because you've got minus 1 take 24 is minus 25. Again, if you're not convinced about that, expand this bracket. If you expand x minus 1 squared and then take 25 away, you're going to get back to this top line. So it's just doing that process in reverse. And again, look up completing the square if I've lost you for that. Now, the reason we care about completing the square is if we've got an equation in the form y equals x take a squared plus b, what we know is that the turning point is the point AB. So what would the turning point be of this equation? Well, in this case, A would be 1 and B would be negative 25. And what we've got now is all the different bits of information we need to sketch the graph. We've got the turning point, which I'll write up here. It's going to be 1, negative 25. We've got the roots, which are going to be -4, 0, and 6, 0. We've got the shape, and we've got the y-intercept. So the last thing I'm going to do then is just quickly draw that, or do a quick sketch of that, which I'll do in this space here. Okay, so we've got this the axes there. We know the shape. We're going to draw it like this, and then we just need to label our values. We know that this point here is going to be the point 0, negative 24, because that's our y-intercept. We know our roots are going to be 6, 0, negative 4, 0. Okay, apologies for that. It's a bit hard to write. So we've done the shape because we drew a U shape. We've done the y-intercept because we've labelled that. We've done the roots, and the last thing we need to do, apologies, is the turning point. So that there is the y-intercept, and the turning point is going to be this point here. And again, just because I'm running out of space, I'm just going to draw a line here just and label it. And that turning point is going to be the point 1, negative 25. Okay. So on my sketch, the turning point and the y-intercept are very close to each other, which makes sense because the turning point is 0, negative 24, and the turning point is 1, negative 25. So there's only a distance of 1 on both the x-axis and the y-axis. So these 2 points are actually very close together. So yeah, just in case you're wondering why these 2 points are very close, those 2 coordinates are very similar to each other. Okay, but this one's just slightly further to the right and slightly further down than the y-intercept. Okay, and that's one way you could sketch a graph. Okay, and that's one of the ways you could do that.